Hello, and welcome to Women of EHS presented by NQ. The aim of our Women of EHS series is to really highlight women that are changing the environmental space and really redefining what an EHS professional really means. Today, I have Ivy Miller of T&M Associates. Ivy, how you doing today?
Good. Good. Long day.
Yes, I really thank you for taking time out of a mid-February day. It's not like you could be doing any other thing as far as reporting or any other, obligations you have to do for T&M. But could you give me just a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company, T&M Associates?
Well, I'll talk about the company first. So T&M is a consulting company, engineering, construction, wastewater, water, environmental compliance. We cover the gamut of that. It was actually started by like two guys, engineers in New Jersey, and has grown to, I think we're like between 350 and 400 employees. And so majority of our company is in New Jersey and then Pennsylvania. And so then they branched out to the Midwest and opened an Ohio office. And that primarily does in engineering, civil, and then environmental there. And then my boss actually came on, and she's in the Indianapolis office. So then she kind of brought me in from our old company we worked together with. And then we've opened up a California office. So I'm doing some things on the West Coast and trying to branch out from just doing East Coast to Midwest to, West too. So.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah. A little bit about you, kind of what do you do for the company? What's your day-to-day role kind of look like?
Well, my title is principal engineer, but what do I do? What don't I do might be a better question.
Yes.
Because I mostly work with environmental compliance. So I have several clients that I work with, automotive through paint company, kidney dialysis, engine company. So mostly I help them solve solutions. So if they have regulatory needs as far as submitting reports or getting permits, that type of thing, I support any of that, draw up all of the information, do calculations. I also do finance for all of my boss's sites, and it's quite a few. So that takes up time. I did just get an assistant. So it's like, yes. So I take care of that one, from them setting it up to me approving it and then making sure we're on track for, payments and then billing clients and all of it. So like I do all of that part. I interact with the client all the time. So like we have like 5, if you want to call them pillars or target categories at our company, and I touch pretty much all of them.
There you go. It's one thing I learned when I first came to environmental science as well. The finance part is so important. That back end is like, once you get done with the reporting, how do you get paid? It's always an important question, and someone's always going to need to track it down. So kind of the job is never done. That's for sure. Right.
So myself, as far as like how I got into environmental, or I guess myself, I actually went to school for chemical engineering.
Okay.
At Michigan State. And then I moved to, I got my master's in hazardous waste management at Wayne State, and currently working on my second master's for engineering management. So yeah, I'm almost done. I got one more semester.
Good for you.
Have that. So I've just always been interested in that type of in engineering, and probably from my father. He's an electrical engineer. So.
Okay, gotcha. As far as the environmental space, was that a passion for you when you were younger? How'd you kind of fall into this?
So I got into chemical engineering and really didn't like it. was too far into it, and then had a scholarship and was like, nope, the scholarship's done in another year, so got to figure something out. So I ended up taking a civil, because they make you take classes, in other engineering fields. And so the one I took was a civil environmental class. And the environmental was the most interesting class I had since I'd been in college. But I was like already a junior, wasn't going to be changing majors at that point. So I just stuck with it. And then when I went to actually look for jobs, I kind of applied at some of the chemical companies, and I didn't care for that too much, and just happened to see a virtual meeting. And this was pre-COVID, and pre-people really doing it. Was kind of a new thing when they would do, virtual job things. And I just put out for one. It was for a company in Detroit. And then that's how I got started. They were doing environmental consulting. So I originally started out doing remediation.
Okay.
And so gas stations, all the reporting that's required for if there's a leak at a gas station, that was what I did originally at first. I moved from one company to another consulting company that was bigger. They did like all the BP gas stations. And so I did that for, I don't know, about 6 or 7 years, and then moved. They were kind of downsizing. So I moved to another company, a lot bigger company that did a broader range of work. So that was how I got introduced to kind of the environmental compliance more so than just doing like remediation type stuff.
Work, yeah. As far as you were coming up, you've been in college, took a couple stints in it. Like, do you have any mentors, or did you have any mentors back then that you really looked up to?
I really didn't. I'm kind of an introvert. And so I've always just kind of always had my own goals and things I wanted to do. So I didn't really have mentors back then. It would have been nice, but to be honest, wasn't a lot of women to mentor to, and not that men can't mentor women, but, like I was in a really small company, went to a little bit bigger company, and then a humongous company, and at that point I knew a lot. So kind of didn't really have anybody that I was like, oh yeah, can you mentor me, and what should the things I do? I just kind of figured it out and learned it as I've gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I end up meeting one of your colleagues right now, or your boss, Ashley. Yeah. Are there any other women in your field and your company in a prior job that you kind of look to from now to for a little bit of mentorship and guidance?
Yeah, outside of Ashley. Yeah. Well, there was a couple of my last job, Wendy, because she was actually a chemical engineer too, and kind of doing not necessarily chemical engineering, so I did look up to her. And the different things, the different type of projects she worked on. But yeah, I don't know if there's really anybody else, because it's still really not a lot of women out there, just gonna say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this company, I will say, when I was at the old company, Arcadis, they did have a lot more women than my previous jobs. And then at T&M, there are some, but like I'm in Detroit. And so everybody else is everywhere else. I'm like the only one in Detroit right now. So
you're flying solo there in Detroit, trying to hold it down, huh? Fair enough. So if there's one thing that makes Ivy, what is that trait that kind of helps you excel?
I pay attention to detail. So that's the one thing I think that's the pet peeve that I have about others is that the detail thing. When we're opening projects, everybody will come to me and say, hey, is this for this one or this for this one? Because I already know where it should go. Because, okay, I remember we got a proposal. It said XYZ. Another thing is I do have photographic memory. I don't use it till it's full of potential. But I do keep a lot of details in my head. I have one client I've been working with since 2012. And I can tell you from meetings from 2012, what we discussed, because I've been bugging them about it since 2012, so, and that's why I've been with them, helping them still this long, because I just remember a lot. So I think paying attention to details and making sure I'm giving the client what they need.
Good. It sounds to me like this is something that is rewarding for you. Is that correct? Like your photographic memory helps you stay on people, helps you stay on top in the environment. Is that kind of your goal? And how do you help your clients currently?
Yes. My main goal is to help them, make it easier for them to get what they need done. If I need to do it all for them so that it gets done, then that's what I do. So just making sure the client's happy and then bring in more work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a goal for the company as well. So, you've had a couple jobs, went through school. What are some of the challenges you faced along the way? How'd you kind of overcome those?
Challenges. I would say more that I have had to figure out things myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes you'll have, I could go to this person. Like now I have that, and I've kind of had that with Ashley, but I haven't always had that, where it was kind of like, okay, nobody else knows, so just figure it out. And so that's what I usually have to do. I think patience, it took me a while to get to have patience with others, because I am my way and I know how I am. I'm anal and I like things certain ways. And so I had to adapt to, okay, everybody doesn't do it your way. So I'm okay with that. But if you're going to do it a different way and it's going to be wrong, then I got an issue. So yeah.
That's not going to work.
Right.
So a little bit to looking into the future, kind of what are your thoughts on the future of EHS? Is it more technology, more tools? How are you guys adapting?
We do a little bit with tools. I would like a lot more. I have never, I'm computer savvy for a lot of things, but I've never been into being able to build tools or build things outside of Excel. I can do everything in Excel. So I can figure a way to do it in Excel. And so I think our company has moved towards trying to build more tools, but having the people to actually do it for you and build something that we have it and we've had it. You know how people come and go though. So that's kind of where that is. But I think more tools are needed, but they need to be easy to use.
There you go.
Because people build a lot of things, and it's like, if it's gonna take me a long time to figure out, I'll go back to Excel.
Exactly. If you don't make tools that are easy for people to use, people just won't use them. That is right. Exactly right. That's kind of motto we live by at InCamp. Like, we want to make useful tools, but we can't make them to the point where they're too useful that no one knows actually how to use them. That is not what we want to do.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So in your thought, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, kind of like, as you were coming through, you really didn't have a lot of women to look up to and talk to. So how can the EHS space kind of improve for women?
I guess part of it is, so there are associations out there. And I will say myself, like I said, I'm an introvert. So like I joined some things and I never really went to any of the meetings. I never did things, like I'm not really a person at parties. I don't go to stuff, so to get myself out of that is like I joined some as I got older, associations. And when I've gone to some of the conferences, meeting people there, that has helped me too, as having a contact to, hey, this person does this. I can call and, reach out to them. I've, met a few people like that. That's one way if you're kind of like me, but I know people like, you meet people in college and stay in contact. If you're in the same fields, that type of thing, there you can always reach out to them if you're still in contact, or coworkers. I have some coworkers I'm still in contact with too. So
I've one of the things that I've noticed, I've been in the field for about 12 years or so now, but the actual number of women at every company has increased at every company I've been at. Is that kind of your similar experience as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think things are heading in the right direction in this field, and it's obviously a booming field. And as we start talking about sustainability, that's a whole nother gambit.
Right.
So I really think we're moving in a good direction. As far as having diversity and having more women in the field.
Right. And I think part of it is sometimes when women come into fields, and you see mostly men, you're just kind of like, how do I fit in? Mm-hmm. I never looked at it that way. I looked at, this is my work and this is what I need to do. I don't care who I'm working with or who is around me. Then, I have work to do. So that's the thing.
That's a great mentality. It kind of leads me into this next question of like, if you could give another woman some advice and say, hey, if you wanted to get to where I am today, you could do what? Or, what would that be for you?
Well, I know one of it is if you, and not everybody's the same, but if you have drive and if you know what you want to do, because it's kind of hard. Like sometimes, like coming into consulting, it was like, so I didn't know nothing what consultants did when I got out of school. Right. I had no clue, and it was like, okay, so the company I applied with, he wanted somebody out of school that they could teach things to. So, that's what happened. So, but if you meet people and I guess kind of know some of what they do ahead of time, it's kind of easier, but consulting is a big field.
Yes, it is.
So it's like hard to even say. When people ask me what I do, I always hesitate and say, okay, how can I put this in layman's term?
There you go.
Kind of everything. So I guess that's the thing, is like, have drive, know what you want to do. And if you've done some things and you don't want to do that, then keep that in mind, for that next job or even that next position in that company, because they'll try and stick you with what you don't want to do. And learn a lot of different things. And that's one thing why I guess I'm so popular, because one of my clients I don't even do environmental. It's really customs.
Really?
Has absolutely nothing to do with environmental. The one that I do from since like 2012, it's country of origin. They export parts out and they have to export them properly. People have to pick the right country of origin. Well, our suppliers have to actually send in the document. And so I've been supporting them. So like I have a big range. Like when I even interned or co-opt in college, I did it with Michigan Department of Transportation. And so that's civil. And I learned a lot from there that I was able to bring over to environmental consulting, because I had to read diagrams and read, drawings and stuff. And I already knew how to do that because I did it when I worked as a co-op. So I just have had a large field. So like I could go in any direction.
Yeah, that is great advice. And you also touched on something that I absolutely love. Almost what's important of knowing what you do want to do is absolutely knowing what you don't want to do. Because trust me, you're right. If you get stuck there, then you got to make a decision. Hey, if you would have set it up front, they can put you in the right position to excel. Great advice. So, all right, if you could give yourself, your past self, some advice, what would that be? That's a tough one.
It is, because, you learn from everything that happens, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I probably would be, and I want to say it wasn't necessarily patience, but, I always was just driven to do my work. And honestly, like I'd speak to people and I say hi, but like not really have conversations, just to be honest. I would just get to the point, like what I had to ask you for, and go back to my cube and finish my work, So I guess to be more personable with people, to learn a little bit more about some people. Like I did have, out of all my jobs, I had that one person that, like, even now, sometimes we just send happy birthday to each other or whatever. But, just to know a little bit more about people, I guess. I'm not necessarily closed-minded, but I was just kind of like, staying to myself. You know, you don't want people to disappoint you.
Fair enough.
You know, so it's just kind of like stay to myself, and that's kind of how it always was, and wish I hadn't have done that, I guess.
At the beginning. Yep.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Like you said, good or bad, we always learn from old experiences. And that's a good one, especially being, I'm an extrovert. So, you know, but I can sympathize with an introvert saying, look, I just want to stay to myself. I'm going to do my work and probably head back home. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now to the fun questions.
Yes.
Ivy, I know you're not a partier, but what exactly do you like to do? What are some of your hobbies?
I really don't do a whole lot, but I like reading.
Okay.
Reading all kinds of different books. Sports. I've always been a sports person. I like all sports, and sorry, golf is not a sport.
Come on.
Not a sport. It's not a sport.
Okay.
So I can watch anything on TV. And this pandemic sure had me watching bowling on TV. Now that I never used to do. So I will say, but I still didn't watch golf, have to say. But like I have season tickets to the Pistons.
Oh, awesome.
So I go to games. Well, when we can't go to games, watch, my college teams on TV. And then outside of that, I really don't do much else.
No, that sounds, I am, as anyone in the company in Camp can tell you, I'm a huge sports fan. Okay. Yeah, love the Pacers, love the Colts. I'm all about it. Love golf. Come on. It is a sport.
No, it's not. You're hitting a little ball in a hole, maybe. It might go everywhere else, and then you walk to the next location. Not a sport. Sorry.
What if we land? Does that change?
Or even table tennis is a sport, but not golf.
That's a conversation for another conversation we might have later. But okay, fair enough. I'll give you that. What's your favorite trip you've ever taken?
Hawaii.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I have now, as a kid, I actually traveled several places: Japan, London, Switzerland. But I've not been back as an adult, so I don't know if I would still like them. I liked them when I was there, but right. I would still say Hawaii is the best one, which I'll be going back in October.
Oh, good for you. Get through the first half, reporting season, and then you can go ahead and go on vacation.
Yes.
And have a great time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So any passions? I know you're really, really work driven, but anything outside of that you're super passionate about?
I guess animals. I have two cats. One just will not leave me alone right now. I don't know why. He doesn't bother me most of the time when I'm at work. So I don't know, because I'm talking too much. Sometimes he doesn't like that he's not getting attention. So
there you go.
Since I've been home, but I really like animals. Have to say sometimes more than people.
I don't think that is unique to you.
But I don't really know. I mean, I'm in environmental, and yes, I'm passionate, but I'm not over passionate. Like, I realize we still have to make things. I do wish that we really had real recycling in America. Not we putting it in containers is supposedly going to another country and it's recycled. That is not recycling to me. Like, why don't we have processing places we have few. Why don't we have more to really separate the garbage and the recycling? That's what people could really make some money. I don't really understand it personally, why we don't have that here.
I am with you all the way. I actually just had a conversation not too long ago with somebody who's a director of the IRC, or Indianapolis Recycling Coalition. But there's so many, we're just missing the boat on a lot of it. But again, a whole nother conversation for another day here. Ivy, lastly, at InCamp, we like to camp. A lot of us are campers here. Do you camp? And also, if you do, are you a camper or a glamper?
So yeah, I would be the hotel with a tent type person.
Totally.
I am totally not an outdoors person at all.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You don't have to be. I definitely get that sentiment too. I am, there's a lot of actual like campers. I'm one of the few in the company. I'm like, look, I'm a glamper. That's just, I'll go with you, but I want the most comfortable situation possible at the end of the day. That's just what it is.
Yes.
Ivy, thank you so much for joining me today. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Probably email or my phone is easiest to get in contact with me, but phone is probably easier than anything. So 313-720-6065.
Absolutely. All right. If you want to get in touch with me, you can always do that through LinkedIn. I'm Brandon Barlow. Yep. Also, visit the InCamp website. Especially if you have compliance needs. Also, if you need a little personal touch, we also have Ivy as well and T&M Associates. They can help you out as well. We have a Women of EHS LinkedIn group. And so if you are listening right now, please go join that today. You will be able to find this interview and a few others. So it's been great talking to you, Ivy. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.